Once upon a time, the idea of Liam Neeson starring in an action movie was silly. But sometimes all it takes is for some decent filmmakers to get together with the goal of creating a relatively low-budget pulp action movie with a modest European theatrical release, an ultimate destiny in the 99p DVD bin, and something silly becomes something extraordinary. Taken tells the tale of Brian Mills, a lowly CIA operative who moonlights as a security guard for pop stars, and his daughter Kim, whom he is desperately trying to build a relationship with. Against his advice, Kim goes off on a trip to Paris with a friend, gets kidnapped by an Albanian human trafficking gang, and he jets off to save her. It is an incredibly simple, emotionally intense, if unremarkable premise, but it sets up what is simply an exhilarating thrill ride. I don't think anyone that was involved in creating Taken had any inclination of just what they would end up making. After all, who in their right mind would have banked on Liam Neeson becoming an action star at 55 years old? But alas, in November 2008, we went to the cinema to check it out, and goddamn, nothing would ever be the same again. The first thing to note about Taken as to why it just works is that it was an incredibly mission-oriented production. A lean, 90-minute action movie with literally zero fat. It gets to work fast, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat all the way through. And after the film begins, it's not long before we have learned that Brian doesn't have much money, that he cares deeply for his daughter, that he has a strained relationship with his ex-wife Lenore, portrayed by Famke Janssen. Her new husband Stuart is portrayed by the single most underrated actor in history, Mr. Xander Berkeley, and he's loaded, compounding Brian's sense of inadequacy. This is great because it doesn't hang around in telling the story, it just gets to work. And there are lots of nice little touches, such as the way that Brian wraps his daughter's birthday present and his former colleagues referring to him as Mr. Attention to Detail, and it gives us just those little extra nuggets of insight into who Brian is without spending too long doing so.
What, you think he hasn't done it already, Mr. Attention to Detail?
But the moment that I got the first inclination as to just how powerful of an experience this was going to be was after Holly Valance had just finished her set and was heading back to her dressing room. Suddenly, a knife-wielding attacker appears and is swiftly taken down by Brian. This was our first hint as to what the man was capable of, and I still remember that sudden surge of adrenaline that hit me when Neeson dispatched him. Bear in mind, we were barely 11 minutes into the film at this point, and we're just getting started. From here, we go through the motions a bit as Brian struggles with the prospect of his daughter going to Paris, but he ultimately relents and gives permission. But we're unsettled almost immediately. After Kim and Amanda land, a creepy guy called Peter approaches them at the airport and ends up taking a cab with them, inviting them to a party, basically gets all of their information. And we were barely 25 minutes into this movie when I experienced one of the most intense and overwhelming cinematic moments of my life. I will never forget watching this moment for the first time. That subtle musical cue, the look on Kim's face, the hairs on the back of my neck literally stood on end, and adrenaline was surging through my body as the magnitude of what was happening became apparent. But without skipping a beat, Brian instantly figures out what is happening and maintains total control. His calmness and clear thinking increases the intensity of the moment, and it was here that Liam Neeson's professionalism as an actor just truly came into its own. Because I really can imagine him thinking like how ludicrous this all was, having agreed to lead what was essentially a fancy kind of action B-movie. Maybe considering how people might laugh at the idea of him leading such a film. And I can even imagine him reading the script for the next part, thinking that it was silly, ridiculous, because it kind of is, but he is such an amazing actor and went all in with it and treated it with the seriousness that it deserved, that ultimately he ended up delivering one of the most iconic monologues of the late noughties.
I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
This truly is a cultural landmark.
Good luck.
And those two words, they make the succeeding events completely inevitable. And as I have alluded to in other videos, that sense of emotional inevitability is what I need more than anything else to believe in the storytelling and be moved by it. And from here, it truly is off to the races, as it is Neeson unleashed. He goes to Lenore and Stuart's house to tell them what's happened, take advantage of Stuart's wealth to get a plane to Paris, etc. But crucially, Sam calls in from CIA with some analysis that lets Lenore and the audience know that Kim has been kidnapped by Albanian human traffickers and will likely try to sell their daughter. But crucially, Sam gives both of them a deadline after which it's unlikely they'll ever find her. And these stakes are as real as it gets. And as an audience, we truly are primed for what is going to happen. And before we know it, Brian is in Paris getting to work. And what I love, that even here, you just look at this cut. Normally you'd think like there needs to be a bit more exposition, like he needs to get into a car and drive there or something. But no, the film doesn't need it. It's zero fat and it's just given us what we want to see. It's blimmin' wonderful. And as another aside, back in the day, I was something of an evangelist for this movie. I would lobby friends to watch it, and I even once hosted a take and watch party because I was genuinely saddened by the prospect of my friends not experiencing it. And at this particular watch party, my friends Drew and Jamie B were in attendance, and it was the former's reaction to this next sequence that sticks out in my mind more than anything. Basically, Brian finds his daughter's phone, takes the memory card out, finds a photo on there, and he identifies the spotter and tracks him down to the airport. Now, we're already feeling a deep sense of loathing towards Peter, despite a teeny bit of potential reticence on his part. He's on the verge of spotting yet another young woman when...
Excuse me. Hey, drive!
And even here, the fact that Liam Neeson says drive, but he doesn't, the cab driver just gets out and runs away. It's like that is just such an awesome touch. And as Brian's breaking homeboy's ribs in the back of the cab, not today, son. The pace, the rhythm, the angles, the sound, the fighting itself, it's just like completely immaculate. And it was in this moment that I remember Drew jumping to his feet, like running his hands through his hair, exclaiming, "Whoa!" and kind of sharing how that sequence had just made him feel. And I had a similar reaction in the cinema, although I believe I remained seated. Bear in mind, we were still firmly in the Bourne era of action cinema at this point. Ultimatum had come out the previous year, and at the time, it had redefined how much I was capable of enjoying a movie. But what I love about Taken is that it absolutely borrows from that cinematic style, but it doesn't overdo it. Like the shaky cam is a little bit reduced and it's kind of smoother in that sense, and it does have its own visual identity as a result, but clearly inspired by the Bourne movies. But in this moment, we immediately get that sense that our hero is better than the people he's fighting and that he will show them who the boss is, and that's something that I really, really enjoy, being able to invest in the protagonist. It's crisp, clean, just, perfect storytelling. But ultimately, this is Taken's genius. It spends a short but adequate amount of time setting up a particular payoff, and then often it basically gives us the payoff immediately. And it's all in service of that final goal that we can all understand and empathize with. A lean, zero-fat portion of cinematic goodness. For example, as Brian is baiting the Albanian pimp, we're all watching this knowing that he could dispatch this dude in 2 seconds flat, but he doesn't. It's building us up. And instead he tricks the dude into taking him to the construction site where he discovers the cabin with the workers going in to take advantage of the drug-addicted women. Our horror and disgust builds along with Brian's until he recognizes his daughter's jacket. And as he's trying to get information from the young woman that had it, one of the gang members puts his hand on Brian's shoulder and set up payoff. It's strange because, if I break down the individual components at work here, there really isn't anything to write home about. There's not one in particular aspect of this film that kind of blows me away. Yet when they're all combined, we just get something that is truly remarkable. And the film keeps ticking along until Brian tracks down the gang's headquarters, makes his way inside by impersonating his colleague Jean-Claude, and crucially begins baiting each of the gang members into talking so he can hear their voices.
How do you say shoot in your language?
Siedzi.
And this scene is so damned good that it makes me angry. The patience, the subversion. But then, after he's heard from almost all of the members and he's getting ready to leave, he hands an innocuous piece of paper to the last guy, who translates what's written on it, and...
Good luck.
Oh boy, words cannot do justice to this moment. That look on Liam Neeson's face, that still gives me the shivers. Like the bit where it flashes back, and like I remember another friend that loved this movie telling me that when he watched it for the first time, he legit believed that Brian, he'd done what he needed to do. He was going to retreat. He's figured out who he spoke to on the phone. He'd take stock, come back later, but instead...
You don't remember me. I told you I would find you.
I mean, what do you even say, bro? That moment where we hear Liam Neeson say,
I told you I would find you.
And we see that realization on Marco's face. It just doesn't get any better than that. This is just, oh my God, it's so good. And this bit here is just so simple, so cool, it's just great cinema. Then he takes out the whole house of bad guys, tragically discovers that Amanda has died. Again, raising the stakes, raising the pressure. We need to find Kim now because we're running out of time. And obviously he finds Marco, begins torturing him, gets the information he needs, and just leaves homeboy to fry, as he promised to do on the phone. Brian also confronts his old friend Jean-Claude for corruption, but again, gets the information he needs and actually finds the building where the women are being sold from. It's pretty goddamned horrible, but again, for somebody as simple as me, it makes the payoff so satisfying. And, seeing everybody at this suave party all dressed really nicely and, drinking quality champagne whilst they're involved in an operation trafficking young women is a very strong juxtaposition and does heighten the emotional disgust that we feel towards this. But finally, after all this destruction and chaos, in a moment of bone-chilling clarity, we finally see Brian lay eyes upon his daughter. And once again, like I say, it was really just spine-chilling and bone-chilling. And this section is, once again, so well done. I admire the restraint and trust the filmmakers placed in the audience. We don't need any more than they give us. We know what an abomination Patrice St. is, and he's done everything he needs to in order to have earned what is inevitably coming to him. It doesn't take long. This cycle of making us desperately want to see something and then giving it to us, but just a moment later, is so satisfying. But it is from here that the pressure is maximized. We know where Kim is, we know that she's not going to be there for long, and Brian just has to get to her. It's so intense. And this shot in particular just always sticks with me. It's just like the mist in front of the headlight. I kind of wish it held for a bit longer, but this is taken. There's no fat. We're getting it done. It just looks freaking awesome. Now remember, Brian isn't a good guy or a bad guy. He's simply, I am going to do whatever it takes to retrieve my daughter guy. And it's all setting up what is the final action sequence of this movie. And can we just take a moment and admire this? Liam freaking Neeson was 55 years old, was not known as an action star, and he made this movie. Who else has had a pivot like this before? I mean, you have to respect the fact he just went ahead and chanced it. It could have gone wrong, but it was amazing. And ironically, this does remind me of Leslie Nielsen, the star of The Naked Gun, who made his first comedy at 54 years old.
Sorry I have to wake you. You a doctor?
That's right.
And from that moment on, ended up being a deadpan icon, arguably the greatest deadpan in the history of cinema. And this is a wonderful comparison when we consider Liam Neeson is starring in The Naked Gun. Just a cool little overlap there. But after all this, and after Brian has literally killed everyone, he is reunited with his daughter. And they make their way back to Los Angeles, and everyone lives happily ever after. Kind of. Now, Taken isn't a profound movie. It's little more than a pulpy action thrill ride. But goddamn, when the ride is this exciting and exhilarating, there ain't much more that I need. Even at the time, $25 million was not a huge budget for an action movie, but sometimes the planets just align and the filmmakers end up creating something infinitely greater than the sum of its parts. And they did try to capture lightning in a bottle 2 more times with Taken 2 and TAC 3N, But both movies were pretty terrible in my opinion. They basically kind of turned Brian into Rambo, and neither had that sense of emotional inevitability and like the leanness that completely defined the first movie for me at least. And likewise, the fact they went ahead and recast Stewart after the films got popular just brings my piss to a boil, and I'm still waiting for somebody in Hollywood to cast Xander Berkeley, the most underrated actor of all time, in a role befitting his ability, his quality as an actor. But all in, I just love Taken. I think it's such an awesome movie, and I just wanted to spend a little bit of time celebrating what is a great, great film. Well, thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this look back at what is just a freaking awesome movie. You know, Taken, it's never going to reinvent the wheel. It's not the most profound movie. It's just an extremely thrilling and entertaining time. So I hope you enjoyed looking back at that as much as I did. Obviously, be sure to share your favorite moments in the comments. If you've got any feelings about the specific moments that I shared, I would absolutely love to read those comments and like to relive those experiences with you. Always love doing that. Feel free to comment down below. I'll be down there to reminisce with you, of course. And just a little update on the channel in general. I have been on a little bit of a hiatus due to some personal stuff, but I'm back in the game right now. I'm working on some smaller videos like this at the moment, whilst I work on another rather large video that's related to video game history. And I'm really, really excited about this one, but it is going to take me quite a while to get done. So whilst I do that, we've got some other smaller videos about awesome films that are going to be coming out over the next few weeks. So if either of those things are of interest to you, please consider subscribing. And if you did like this video, please click the like button as well, as it just really helps me out. So with that, I want to thank you once again. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.